The MVP Ventures Program, formerly called the MVP Grant, which was $25,000, is now $200,000. Let's have a look at the guidelines and application to see what we're up against here. So for companies in New South Wales, very good program, very similar to accelerating commercialisation, if you know of that one. So what are they looking to do? They're looking to support and increase commercialisation of innovative products in New South Wales, and they're looking for companies along the technology readiness scale. So you need to familiarise yourself and see where you are at in that. The further you can move along the TRL scale, and the closer you can be to actually getting the product to market, is going to be good for you. Now, let's keep running through, obviously throwing some science that looks nothing like the real world. Minimum grant is $25,000 and up to $200,000. Applications only opened a week ago, and they go for a few years. Now, what's interesting to note is that the outcomes are within 40 business days. And I'll get to this in the future, but so there's no rounds, there's eligibility, but it's non-competitive. So that's very strange. It'll be interesting to see how much money they've actually got available at the end of this, because if it's not competitive, then everyone can apply and everyone should get it. So I'm not sure how this is actually going to work. So in order to get it, you've got to be obviously be a company, and I'm assuming not a trust or a partnership, but normally it's a company, ABN, hold intellectual property or the rights to commercialise. So don't think you're going to come in with someone else's technology, from overseas and commercialise it in Australia. Not going to fly. Have less than $1 million in turnover and less than 20 full-time equivalents. And then not be a subsidiary of anyone else. Right, let's scroll on. Okay, so here's my eligible, normal sort of stuff. Eligible projects. So let's look at what we've got. So basically commercialisation. We move along with technology readiness scale. We mentioned that. 3 to 9. Familiarise yourself with that. And then be in the priority industries. So if you are outside the priority industries, they probably won't give you the money. So there's like 10 priority industries, and you'll know if you're in one of those emerging or priority areas. Look up the industry development framework to see what you fit in, but typically it's your med tech, your mining, education, I think is in there. So that sort of thing, it's very similar to what's been around all the government levels in the past few years. So you've got to have 50% cash. It's going to look good if you've already got that cash lined up. It's already sitting in your bank. You've got to have that ready to go. You can't say you're going to go out and get it. What I say to people with cash, use the evidence that's in your bank account. Once you get the grant, you can then go and source other finance, either debt or equity if you need to, but utilise what's in your bank account first as evidence to get this grant. So what can we do with this? Prototyping, piloting studies, promoting commercial viability, so obviously moving along the TRL scale, completing development of an innovative product, do not include the basic research or technical experiments. So anything basic, anything obviously early on the TRL won't be there, not for internal use. So the workaround for this one is to say that you are developing it, you're trialing it in-house. You're the first prototype or the first, trialing it, within yourself to prove it for the market. So you're going to white label it or something like that. Commercialising the next version or iteration. So if you're already making money and you want to go and add on a new plugin, a new feature, extension, not going to fly. So you need to be basically a new product. If it is if it is an extension, make sure it's a standalone product. So you can add on, but you can also buy it independently. That's how you sort of work around on that one. Okay, so contribute to matching funding. and you've got to demonstrate the time. So documented the evidence. So that's one, once again, use the cash in the bank, even though you don't actually need to use that money. So they've provided some case studies. So what I like to do when accessing a grant is not start with the applicant, but start with the government mindset, thinking, who do they like to fund? What do they want to cut a ribbon for? What does a minister want to come out and broadcast everywhere? Look how good the government is because we have invested in this company. So start thinking about that. Think about companies that have already received good funding and finance from either VC or private equity. And anything that's well backed already is going to be looking good for this grant. And you just say you want to get $200,000, but you've already raised $1 million. They'll say, well, that you could have used all that money. What you do in that sense is that you say that money is for other purposes. You might be commercializing another product. You might be using that for marketing. You might be using that for sales staff, for the GM or the CEO or product manager. So that money is reserved, but you have got just enough money for this project. Remember that. So they have received an MVP grant in the past. So if you've received funding in the past, you are in a hot seat. The government already likes you. You're already proven, assuming that you've successfully completed that project and you haven't folded or collapsed in that time, and you've continued to grow or progress your product, or evidence of growth of customers, maybe not customers, but maybe of use. That is going to look good. And they've received awards. So look good, look like you don't need the cash. So compare yourself to a few of the examples that are already in this application or in the guidelines. Okay, so go through there and work out what your expenses are going to be. Document all that out in terms of a good spreadsheet. How long people are going to be on the project, what their salary is, how long, and then what percent of their time is going to be on the project. And you're gonna need to be audited. So make sure you're actually going to spend the money and not just making it up. We've talked about the TRL, and of course that's what science looks like, playing with a drone. Okay, another example. Let's see how cool. Oh, this looks cool. So once again, the government wants cool. Got that nice Australian logo on there. That's what they want. Whoops, we've gone too far. That's what we want to see. Space. That sounds cool. So, 𝐁𝐀𝐂𝐊𝐆D𝐏𝐷𝐄𝐒, cool sounding name. They got the MVP grant previously. It just looks cool. So once again, the government wants cool. They want to cut a ribbon. Imagine the ministers coming out with their high vis and they got their hard hat on, or their hairnet if you're in the food industry, and they're standing next to this robot, or they even put it on. That's what it needs to look like. So give them something cool. Now this is the interesting part. It's going to be application funding will be assessed against. Now this is interesting. If it's non-competitive, why are they assessing it? So, normally in applications it's competitive, and they say, okay, we're going to give criteria 1, we're going to give that 30% weighting, on commercialisation 40% weighting. So in this, they're saying, well, at least that's what they're saying, it's non-competitive. So, the product must be TRL. Okay, we can prove that easily. Highly innovative and or disruptive. So how are they measuring that? So this seems very subjective. So this may be a workaround for the government to say it's not competitive, because they could just turn around and say, well, it's not highly innovative. So they said, therefore, you're struck out. Highly innovative, disruptive technology. You also need to have someone, I think it'll come up a bit later, someone has to endorse this or say that that statement is true. A unique application of technology that is significantly different to any previous innovation in the market. Significantly different. How are they coming up with that measure? So 1% different, 2% different, 50% different. How are they coming up with that? I don't know. And basically, like all grants, you basically got to be, who are you? What have you done? How are you good at what you do? What are you going to develop? How long is it going to take? How much is it going to cost you? Why are you believable? You answer all those questions, you're getting a grant. So let's move on to commercialisation. Criteria number 2, no evidence of, tick boxes or the minimum. So well-defined problem or opportunity that the product responds to, that's fairly easy. Evidence of commercial viability. The size of the potential market. Is it just one? Is it 100? Is it 1,000? Is it 1,000,000? They provide no guidance on that. So we'll see how they're going to go with actually giving out the money on this one. The value created by the product. Does it create $1? There's not much known about this grant, but it seems like it's competitive, but the way they've written it, they're saying not competitive, but I think it's still going to be competitive. So you've got to be stand out amongst the rest. And then deliver, how good are you? How good's a team? Standard stuff. There's your big whiteboard developing the next EV car. So once again, they've got 40 days to respond to this. And what you can provide is a pitch deck, so 10 slides. So you've all seen pitch decks before. It's who you are, what you're going to do, what the problem, and do a video. So look at what they do for those Kickstarter style campaigns. The cooler you can make it, the better it's going to look. If the government can then use it in their own promotional activities, that's going to look good as well. So once again, make the government look good by investing in cool stuff. So be that company. And so we've got here the key dates. There is 40 days. There's no key dates. So that is it. We'll have another case study. So Canyon Solar, cool name. It's solar, it's PV. That sounds cool. Solar shade system with integrated EV charging. That sounds awesome. They've also received a grant in the past. They would be good to go again. So they may come up with, just so they've already done the solar part or the charging part, there might be an induction charger, or they might be able to charge multiple chargers, or do it from a supercharger. That's what I would take it to the next level. What else have they got? The grant, the product's been further developed and validated with a patent submitted. So when we talked about IP, try to have the IP. This is what software companies are going to try and find hard for this grant. Software, it's very hard to have a patent or stop someone from copying it. So work out a way to make it so that you are a standalone, you have a value proposition that others can't really replicate. And there we are, high vis standing next to the cool innovation. So give government that photo. And here we have the non-competitive side. I highlighted that because someone told me that can't be the case, but that's what they say. So we will review your application against eligibility and assessment criteria. So normally assessment criteria is for competitive. So we'll see what they do. I'd like to hear from people that actually have been knocked back, so we can see, peek behind the curtain to see why are they knocking people out. Okay, decision making. So 40 days, it's going to be a quick turnaround. Another cool check. So what's it, a robot of some description? That looks cool. Be that cool company. So there we are, 40 days. We notified via email. Outcome if you go successful. The reasons why your application was unsuccessful. Interesting. We'll see whether they've actually applied the merit criteria objectively or subjectively. And then you'll get the grant, 30% up front, 30% second tranche, 40% for final. This is a good grant. I look forward to working with companies to get this one. I think that's really about it. So I would say get your application in as soon as possible for this one.